Alrighty, I want to start by jumping into some high-level market analysis and then review semiconductors, as I think they might be showing some potential strength here and digging in. Let's start off with SPY. We did print all-time highs last week as Jackson Hole wrapped up, and we have a potential rate cut coming in September, which is overall good news. SPY itself, you can see we kind of respected the VWAPs from 634 and 635, 634, 635, and we've bounced since then. If you jump in on the 65-minute, see we are finding potential ledge of support here on the July 31st high. The average buyer is still in the green and has stepped in to support that trend. And we did rip through the August 15 high after the Jackson Hole news. And then I've dropped an anchored VWAP on that candle itself, being it's such a important and high volume candle. We've also found support there. If we were to break 644 on SPY, I would be slightly bearish in the short term, but I would only be looking for a 640 test or the 635. If we were to close under 635, I do think 630 and 615 could be in play. But again, I respond to price action. I'm not going to position extensively long or short until we are above or below this range here. We'll see how it resolves. Dow Jones did just break out to all-time highs and is showing extreme strength. Some of the names here: Goldman Sachs, Microsoft, Caterpillar's looking really good, Home Depot, Sherwin-Williams, Visa, McDonald's, United Health, which is a huge one. But overall, that's good news. Dow Jones is very important just based off of Dow theory. We do need all-time highs to be printed there. Something to note that the QQQs, tech, overall NASDAQ is not printing all-time highs. You can see maybe this is a potential head and shoulders. Maybe this is just slight underperformance based off of everything else. I think software could be holding this name down. Semiconductors are potentially digging in here and looking strong, but something to note there that it is underperforming. So jumping into SOXL, we have this very strong daily hammer candle that was, or weekly hammer that was formed from the meeting. If we jump into the daily, you can see we had this V-shaped recovery from $7. Support found the high buyers of June. Some of them were getting sold out. Potential failed breakout here. Another potential to break down failed. These large wicks were, potential institutional buyers or just overwhelming demand, which we printed a short-term high here. And now we are showing strength. So I think it is potential that we either reject off 28 and go lower, or we dig in above 25 and eventually break above 29. So this is top of the watch list for me. And the names within that I think are valuable and that we can dive in further. To start is NVIDIA. So you can see the breakout candle in NVIDIA in June. In June is wicked up with strong buyers showing strength in August 21 and August 22nd. And then additionally, Avgo, another breakout candle using a VWAP. We're not even close to potentially wicking into that, which that is good news there. Something to note when we get into the other names. I'm not as fond of the AMD. This is not a very clean breakout to me because we kind of were so oversold into the 70s. So I just picked the level that I thought there was some accumulation going on between 148 and 133. Same here and here. It dropped an anchor to the first time we broke into that. So if we do this, we are holding it from a VWAP perspective. We wicked into it, bounced off of it. RSI looks potentially like it'd be curling back bullish, which we would need overall for strength to continue. Taiwan Semiconductor, I do not like at this point. The RSI broke down. MACD looks like it's potentially widening and not curling above the zero. And the breakout VWAP is potential resistance. If we drop a few more, you can see there's just most of these buyers are in the red in this area, which is not good. Could be holding them down, be holding price down. But if you go all the way down here, buyers could be potentially stepping in. So I think this is just time will tell if we're able to hold this area here and if it's able to remain bullish. I do like that if you go on the weekly candles for almost all of them, you see these huge wicks that are potential buy zones. So here the 220s for Taiwan. If you go to AMD, you see this huge wick off of the 159. It's actually a double bottom almost, and just huge wicks. Hammer candle here, potential. It's a large body hammer, but some would say it's a hammer. Uh, Going to the monthly or the weekly for Avgo looks much stronger. You don't see as many wicking bottoms. You have two here, and then the most recent in August, which is overall good. RSI is looking healthy as well. And then, of course, NVIDIA. But we are coming into earnings here, so it is kind of do or die in the next 5 days. That's different. Jump to VIX. So VIX tanked off of the Jackson Hole news. I think we may have found a short-term top at 17. We did just make fresh new lows though, and if VIX gets to 10, usually like at 17, very, very, very low volatility times. I don't see that happening anytime soon, but I do think we might go to 12 here and then rip back higher. I'm not sure. I do think there is some seasonality trends that could play into September, potential chop or bearish, as well as I think there's some historical statistics around Jackson Hole having, you know, 5 to 8 days of selling after the first initial move. So that's something I'm going to be cautious of. But overall, market to me is looking healthy, it's looking strong, and I'm excited for continuation. I think something to be noted is that small caps are doing very well. Small caps and micro caps are seeing massive amounts of bidding, which makes sense in a low interest rate environment that may be coming, especially with the Fed decreasing rates. I think that's all aligned. We have this potential fake out breakout here in August, and it's ripped higher ever since. And now we have this 3%, almost 4% move from Jackson Hole News. But it is important to note we haven't made all-time highs yet, right? So that is something to watch for. We need to break above this, and then, in my opinion, that is all gas, no brakes at that time. And what else can we jump into? IWC, I think it is for microcaps. Yep. So IWC is pretty much an equal eight microcap. You can see it outperformed the Russell even, and it is looking pretty good. So I had this chart already built pretty much, and it is ripping higher. Huge candle, very bullish. I think first target, you might see a little bit of resistance is 145, but I would now put this there, which would be 165. Yeah, I would like to absolutely see us break here. So 150 is probably going to be some resistance, and we'll see if we're able to break above that. But that would be the first target. So 142 to 150 most likely coming in the next weeks. And what I would like to do is dive into the individual names and just start charting these and seeing if there's any potential, good longs out of these names here, as well as the Russell or any other ETFs. Quickly cover ETH. Being it's had so much demand recently, you can see this monthly chart looks insane, all the way from 1,300 to currently 4,700. We did make all-time highs. It looks like we may have seen a little bit of selling pressure now, and hopefully that'll get bought up. But overall, looking really healthy, really strong. Excited to see it dig in. We did see it dig in on the weekly at the 4,000s and get bid right back up. See, boom, boom, boom. And huge buys on the 22nd after Jackson Hole. I believe it was 13 or 14%. It ripped, and now we are potentially hitting the 49, 55 resistance level. So MACD's looking good. RSI's okay, still bullish. Weekly's actually a little overbought, which is not a bad thing. It's not bearish. You don't get overbought. You don't get overbought in bear markets. Don't forget that. It's important. Overwhelming buying pressure is not a bad thing. So pay attention to ETH and obviously Bitcoin Sol. All of the cryptos potentially could be risk on as the market rips. But that is all I have for today. Thank you guys.